Hey, this is Dr. Yi, your host. I'm a firm believer that healthcare knowledge should be easily accessible to public, and that's why I am here. And you might have guessed, yes, I am still at my parents' house. I love LA, this is where my heart is at, and I really can't wait till I come back. That being said, today's topic is about pregnancy and weight management. So let's talk about pregnancy. So pregnancy actually comes with so much complication, such as hemorrhoids, weight gain, stretch marks, and countless waiting and appointment times. That being said, let's talk about specifically about weight gain, because during my practice, I realized a lot of the women were misinformed by the society. Society often say, hey, eat for two, eat whatever you like, you are growing a fetus inside your belly, so eat as much. But the reality is not that. The reality is you are only supposed to eat more than 300 calories. Did you know that? When you're pregnant. So extra 300 calories a day includes maybe one Snicker bar. Just adding one Snicker bar to your total day calorie intake, that's what you're supposed to eat. Also, if you don't like the Snicker bars, you probably should be eating a healthier version. So something like 3 bananas, 3 medium-sized bananas, adding that to your daily intake would be good. I'm not trying to be a weight Nazi here. There's been countless data out there saying that your pre-pregnancy weight as well as your weight gain during your pregnancy course could actually directly affect the health of you as well as your fetus. Let's first look at pre-pregnancy weight. So ideally, like the general public, your ideal range should be around BMI of 18.5 till 25. That is an ideal weight. Of course, this depends on your body build and your muscle composition in your body. You might be less than 18.5 or a little bit higher than 25. But the idea behind it is you want to be in an optimal range, because your pre-pregnancy weight, actually, if it's a little bit obese, it increases the chance that you might develop gestational diabetes as well as gestational hypertension. This is high blood pressure during your pregnancy. Also, it increases the chance that you might develop preeclampsia, which is very dangerous. Therefore, it might not be a bad idea to include fitness as well as healthy lifestyle for your pre-pregnancy plan. Also, excessive weight gain during your pregnancy course could be very dangerous to you as well as your fetus. But let's first look at what happens to you. Well, if you have an excessive weight gain, then that could eventually lead to increase in blood pressure in you during pregnancy course, as well as it could increase the chance of developing gestational diabetes during your pregnancy. And it could lead to preeclampsia. So you might ask, okay, I've been talking about a lot of preeclampsia. What is preeclampsia? Well, it's a multi-system disorder that develops during the last half of your pregnancy. And during this period of time, you might develop high blood pressure as well as high glucose level, and so gestational diabetes. You can also develop protein in your urine, and you can have like an organ dysfunction in your body. So it's very dangerous. Not only that, if you have preeclampsia, did you know that during your delivery course, you could actually develop something called eclampsia? Eclampsia is basically you're having a seizure while you're giving birth or in the process of giving birth. And this is so dangerous for you as well as your fetus. Also, a lot of weight gain during your pregnancy could eventually lead to retention of obesity during your non-pregnant stages in life, and in long term this can have an adverse outcome. Now that we saw what happens to mom, let's see what could happen to your baby. Well, your baby could actually be born with something called large for gestational age in medical terms, which basically means your baby is larger than it should be. If your baby is over 90 percentile in weight, then we call that large for gestational age. And you might say, why is that bad? Because doesn't that just mean that my baby is growing really well and developing healthy? Well, yes, it is true that your baby is absorbing all the nutrients, but at the same time, it develops a risk that your baby in the future might develop obesity as well as diabetes. Not only that, you risk your baby for being delivered through unplanned C-section, and that could potentially be very dangerous. So let's talk about what is a proper weight gain during your pregnancy. So like I said, the ideal BMI range is anywhere from 18.5 to 24.9. And if you don't know how to calculate this, you can always go on Google, type in BMI calculator, and you can find that out. If your BMI is less than 18.5, the Institute of Medicine, IOM, recommend that you gain anywhere between 28 pounds to 40 pounds. That is considered a healthy weight gain during your pregnancy course. If your BMI is anywhere between 18.5 to 24.5, the healthier range, they do recommend that you gain weight anywhere between 25 pounds to 35 pounds. And if your BMI is anywhere between 25 to 30, they recommend that you gain weight between 15 to 25 pounds. Now listen very carefully. If you're in a range of BMI of greater than 30, then they recommend that you don't gain any more weight than 20 pounds. So what are some ways to avoid this excessive weight gain during pregnancy? Well, number one is diet. Notice how much you're eating and notice what the difference of calorie intake you're having after pregnancy. Number two is exercise. You must exercise. I know a lot of women who first conceive their first child are a little bit afraid and timid to start exercising, but exercising is very healthy for your child. So how should you exercise? Well, exercise, they recommend anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes of exercise a day, and they do recommend that you do control your temperature. So your temperature shouldn't be excessively high. So try to exercise in a really cool environment, and probably about 77 degrees Fahrenheit or cooler is ideal. Also, a lot of women are afraid and they don't notice that trauma could happen during exercise. So any exercise that includes trampoline or aerial yoga where you're hanging up in the ceiling might not be ideal. And lastly, you must stay hydrated. Don't forget that. Hydration is really important during pregnancy. And that's the wrap, everything you want to know about pregnancy and weight gain. I hope this was somewhat informative to you, and I hope you can kind of apply what I talked about in your daily life if you are pregnant. That being said, next week's video is about yo-yo, everything you want to know about yo-yo. Not the toy, but the weight fluctuation and why it occurs. And the quote of the day, take care of your body because it's the only place you have to live.